All right, costume change.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do a shirt change. I'll be right back. Oh my god. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another Found Footage Friday with myself and my co-host Tom Reimer.
Happy October.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a theme going for this month. Trying to stick to kind of some Halloween type found footage, as it were. Tom got new hair. Brings out your eyes.
Okay. My lime green eyes.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're just like last week. We are staying on theme, and we are going to be talking about the classic found footage. I'm going to call it classic found footage. The Houses October Built. That came out actually a lot longer ago than I thought. 2014, if that feels like a long time ago, it does to me as far as this movie is concerned.
Yeah.
It is one of two. It's a two-part series, I think, at this point. And here's your description of this movie. 5 friends are stalked by a group of mysterious and disturbed individuals while on a road trip looking for the ultimate haunted house attraction. So this movie is about a group of friends, 5 friends. Coincidentally, I don't know, as far as Hell House, I think it's 4 guys and a girl again. They just, one of them has this idea, they all get in a trailer and they're gonna they start out just kind of going to a bunch of these extreme sort of haunt experiences, and then as they go, one of them is really sort of focused on finding this underground experience, and as they go, it unravels and gets worse and worse. So our ratings before we spoil anything. Okay, I really like this movie a lot. I have there's basically one huge problem that I have with this movie, but I do like it a lot, and if not for this one thing, I'd probably rate it a lot higher. So with that said, I am going to give this movie 7.5 tapes out of 10.
Okay. When you said a lot higher, I was like, dang, what's he about to say? I was like, it's on your list.
It would be a lot higher if not for one specific thing.
Okay. Yeah, so I actually really like this one too. I actually like this one quite a bit more than Hill House LLC.
Interesting.
So I too am giving it a 7.5.
Look at that. 7.5. All right. Doesn't happen often that we agree.
No, I try not to reveal that I was gonna, because I almost laughed when you said 7.5, and I was like, no. Face. Yes, no, I liked this one a lot.
Okay.
So 7.5 for me as well.
My biggest problem, I'm going to say this without spoiling anything because we haven't spoiled yet, but my biggest problem is that what was 2 movies really should have just been 1. And what I mean is they should have taken both of those movies and combined them. How the first movie ends is incomplete, and so my rating is incomplete. That's how I look at that 7.5. That 7.5 is for what we have, but if they finished the first movie, in my opinion, I probably would have rated it as high as Hell House, which I gave a 9. So
right.
I think different from Hell House, this movie it doesn't really have a supernatural element to it. This movie,
it's a people found footage.
It's a people found footage. So surprisingly, you don't necessarily know that's where it's going, but
Right.
it's about a bunch of strange folks who take this haunted house experience a little bit too far, or way too far. But the problem is with this movie is that you don't actually get to see how far they take it because the movie just ends.
Yeah, pretty abruptly.
Like suddenly, it feels like it just feels like it wasn't over. Like all of a sudden the credits popped up, and so that was I forgot that happened, and
Yeah.
It's been a while, been like a year or so since I'd seen it.
Yeah.
Watched it again this week, and again I was mad at the end because I was so into it, like I was really enjoying it, and I forgot that that's what happened. But you got to watch the second movie, so it really is one of those. It's really a cliffhanger. Like
I haven't seen the second one yet.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger. Yeah. Okay. So you should, if you like this one, you should watch the second one.
Okay, I will.
Yeah. Same characters.
And then I need to do Hell House LLC 3 as well. Yeah, so I liked that this one kind of focused more on the very like the average person psychology of horror, of haunted houses. It very much, there's a lot of discussion about fear. Like I forget the guy's name with the beard, but he's like, well, what works for, some people, if wall-to-wall blood is terrifying to them, but I don't need all of that. I need this and this. And he's like dissecting the concept of what makes things scary. And I thought that was really interesting.
Which is what we do a lot of the time.
I know. And that's immediately like, of course, like, because I rewatched parts of it today, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, we talk about that all the time. And it's so true. And then I also, I really liked, honestly, the haunted house thing just works for me. I really dig it. Like, I like that, as we go through these experiences with them, even before we learn of like what they're like, this main goal of like trying to find this underground thing is like each one that they go to gets less silly, like, and the experiences change and things happen. And I think I don't feel like there's maybe like one lull, and this is a complaint I have about horror movies across the board, and this is where everybody rolls their eyes at me, but I'm a prude when it comes to horror. So the whole like that, there's this one part in particular that could have just been left out. Like it was completely unnecessary. It took me out of the movie. If it had gone any longer, I probably would have cut it off. So that kind of stuff takes me out of it, which is why it didn't have a higher rating from me.
What part was that? That was up for spoilers?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so but otherwise, like I actually didn't hate the abrupt ending because I was so uncomfortable with what was happening, which I know we'll talk more about in a minute. But yeah, it did. You're right though. It did almost feel like there was an error, like something happened and like the screen wasn't loading the rest of the movie or something.
Yeah, I think the first time I watched it, I had to check and make sure, like, there wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
I think I was watching it on a DVD the first time. One thing I do really like about this movie is, and this is still without spoiling anything, is the relationship of these 5 characters. I feel like it's really natural. It really works.
I agree.
They really feel like they are 5 real friends. And if we looked it up, and I found out that they actually were 5 childhood friends, I would definitely believe it. Some of the scenes are like so natural that I feel like maybe they weren't scripted at all, and they were just them like hanging out in this trailer, goofing off and that sort of stuff. A lot of the stuff of them going through the haunts, their reactions feel very real, very, very natural, like what it would feel like if I went through one of these places with some of my friends. And so that's some of the strongest stuff. And one of the things you hear a lot about horror is like, if you want people to be scared, you have to make it so that you fear for the characters too. And you have to like the characters enough to care what happens to them. And so, like, I actually think this movie does. Maybe that's why you like it better. One of the reasons maybe you like it better than Hell House is I think it does, like, the characters are better and more realistic and more likable than the characters in Hell House.
Yeah. And I also, just kind of piggybacking off of that, I also like, it's always interesting to me in horror movies when these people who have been like best friends for 30 years, like, or whatever, and then the moment something goes crazy, they like don't care about the fact they've been friends for 30 years. Like immediately they're like, oh, we're not friends anymore. And I don't care what happens. And you're on your own. And, or I don't trust you.
Yep.
Or like, it's so funny how those dynamics switch like this. But in the houses October built, that actually never really happens. They have these moments of tension between them, but they continue to look out for each other. They continue to worry about one another, and they're very protective of Brandy, the girl. And I felt like all of that, to adding to kind of what you said, it just made their dynamic and their relationships feel more real, because you know, if I've been friends with my best friend since I was 5 years old, if something went off, like I'm there with her until we both die. Like, I'm just like, that's committed. Like I would be committed to doing whatever I could to help her to be like, whatever the situation, you know, paranormal, crazy, whatever. But like, but so often that's not the case. So that added to the fact that it made it, you know, that made it feel even more real on top of everything else.
So can we spoil? Can we go ahead?
Let's do it.
So one thing that, I mean, the ending I really took issue with, in that simply I just felt like it wasn't done. Like there was just a lot of stuff happening, a lot of tense stuff happening. They're literally in coffins under the ground, screaming to be released, and then the movie is over.
Yep.
So you don't know what happened to them, and presumably it's because you need to watch the next movie to find out, and that is exactly the case. So I don't really like that about it. If I'm paying to see a movie, and I didn't pay to see this movie, but if I was, I would actually want to see the movie in its entirety.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Another thing that I get, this is I think we talk about this in almost every most weeks when we talk about these movies. 4 out of 5 of them want to stop all of this, right? And don't want to continue to search for this blue skeleton, which is this extreme haunt experience. Things keep getting weirder. These, you know, crazy people keep showing up and like stalking them, basically. And most of them don't want anything to do with it. They want to just go home. And yet, because one guy really wants to do it, and they're all furious about it, and they just keep going forward and doing it. Like, to me, that was hard to believe. Like, I couldn't, because these were such like believable and realistic characters in real life. Like, if this was like a group of friends, I don't think that would have continued. I think they would have stopped and been like, no, hell no, we're not doing this anymore. Like, this feels really wrong. If some of them say that, like, one of them is like the guy who we were just saying, who talks about like the things that are scaring him. He's like, he goes, I'll go and do anything that's like super extreme, like when I know I'm going for that purpose. But then when the extreme thing like shows up, when he's like brushing his teeth and getting ready for bed, that's like a step too far for him. And I totally agreed with that and didn't understand. And then I guess it does get to a point where they can't do anything about it, and these people are just coming after them. But that was tough.
Yeah, and I think like because by that point they've been filmed while they were sleeping.
Yep. That'd be it for me. That would be it for me.
I would be so done.
Yeah.
So done.
I mean, they're like touching them as they're sleeping. Like, it's
so creepy. And then also by this point too, they've gone through that one house, which was like, or that one haunt that was like really well done. Where the people in it are like saying her name, and she's like, I'm like really uncomfortable with this, like because it's like all these things are adding up to this thing that it's like, it wasn't just one thing. if nothing else had happened, if that weird girl hadn't gotten on the bus and screamed at them, and
That
if
was
like they hadn't been recorded while they were sleeping, if none of that had happened and she went through a haunted house where they said her name, she would have immediately thought, oh, set up. Like they're just messing with me because they know that'll make me scared. But because of all of these other things, it's like it's too much. Like this is dangerous. This is way too close to home. Yeah, that shot of them when they're sleeping took me a minute to realize what was going on, because at first I thought when you first see it, you first see that, I think it's the bearded guy sleeping. When they show him, I first thought, oh, they're about to mess with him or something. And then I was like, that's not what's happening.
They're all yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not. That was really unsettling. Like that scene was really unsettling. Yeah, and I think like I think the ending had me pretty like, and I didn't really remember exactly how it ended. I remembered a lot of the pieces leading up to it, which is why I had to rewatch the last little bit of it today, because I couldn't remember. But I like the ending with the going through. He tells them, he's like, film everything you see or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's been this common thing that they like keep getting harassed about filming. Like it's been this like reoccurring thing that one clown is like outside. He's like, I saw you filming. I want the tapes. Like there have been things that have come up. There's a scene where they're in that bar when they're asking for Giggles, and they corner Brandy in the bathroom, and they're talking about making a movie. There's like this constant thing throughout about this negative feeling about them filming and stuff. And so he's like, film everything. Like all of that was really creepy. And then like but the way that it was done, it was like, it almost kind of reminded me of a video game, like the way that they're moving through rooms, and he's starting to see people. He sees the guy in the beard,
and even each haunt is like a different level. Like
it is like it's very video gamey, and so like, which is always some stuff I'm down for. And so when it got to the part, with the boxes, I being buried I'm claustrophobic, so like that's why like that Ryan Reynolds movie, I will never be able to watch it. I'll have a panic attack.
Which Ryan Reynolds movie?
I think it's just called Buried.
Oh yeah, no thanks.
I can't watch that stuff. No. I mean, what's the Splunking one with the girlfriends?
The Descent.
Like
yeah.
Like The Descent, it makes me so uncomfortable. So that all was like really well done. And even though it did end abruptly, I think it could have still left you with questions, but still extended those out a little bit more, because it does really feel like a very short, like whoop, like a cut.
But like I would say on a positive, like we often talk about these people found footage, for lack of a better term. Even though this is haunted house sort of found footage, it's also people found footage, which means like the best of those sorts of movies, if they're done right, you really feel like this could happen. And I don't just mean like the main characters. I mean like the totally ridiculous, the bad guys could be real people in real life. And I'm sure, I mean, these extreme sort of haunts exist. Like the extreme haunts exist in real life. And so like, the people they even interview, like there's intersplice like interviews of like people who work at these haunted houses. I sort of feel like a lot of those were real, and we were filming like real people talking about their experiences in haunted houses. Like that felt real to me. I agree. Whether or not it was or not, I don't know, but it really felt like it could have been. And because there are thousands of these sorts of things, and I know people who really travel around looking for these scary haunts. You know that there are some probably like really messed up ones out there, and so that's why this sort of thing is not so hard to believe.
So that was the tangent I wanted to like bring up specifically in this one, because one of the things that I found really unsettling about the end is the cut to the guy with like the paper mache on his face. I don't know what it is, but he's talking about like that was what I was listening to, like full disclosure, like when we like got on, because I was like, I needed to see like the last couple seconds because I couldn't remember. And like I remembered once I saw his face, I remembered some of the stuff that he says, because he very clearly is like, yeah, like I get to do all of these things that I can't do. And I'm just like, basically saying like in an extreme haunted house, it's like you can do all of these things short of killing someone. And it's like, and he's like, and I get to like do that, and like it, you know, it's like fulfilling for him because he can't do that normally. And I'm just like,
And I mean, and that was one of the interviews I'm talking about. Like that.
yeah, it's like at the very end. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure. That could have been an actor, but like it could have been real. And you know for sure in real life, even if that guy's not real, there are people who probably sign up and to do those sorts of things and perform in those sorts of shows.
Yeah.
Because they just, you know,
It's
really
like an outlet for their dark mind.
Yeah, that's sort of what I mean. And so that's why, you know, like who knows what could come out of that. But I think that's why people go to these things. They almost sort of think that probably when they go there, and like that's part of the scare, I think, of some of these extreme places, especially. I think.
Yeah, I looked into them like a while ago because I had never heard of such a thing. I mean, haunted houses to me are always these like fun jump scare, you know, things. And I just never thought about anything past that. And then I don't even know how, someone must have mentioned it or so I started looking into it. And so basically a lot of these places, like you can go and you can look up different ones, you can look up reviews on them, like you know, like most of them don't allow recording or anything for probably pretty obvious reasons. But like I read reviews on some of them because like, so they say extreme, but they don't really, a lot of the ones I saw didn't really explain, but it basically is just giving them permission to like hurt you or like, and you sign this like waiver basically that's like, I'm going to allow you to do these things. But I saw one, and this is when I stopped looking into it because I have reflexes. Like people like now in haunted houses, people a lot of times they don't touch you because it's dangerous. Like when people's fight or flight kick in, you don't know if they're gonna like break your nose. I had a cousin when I was a kid who broke someone's arm because they reached out and grabbed her ankle
in a haunted house.
In a haunted house, and she stomped on their arm not because she was trying to be mean, but because like it scared her. And so that was her response, was to make that stop. And it was like, I don't know if it was broken, but I know he was pretty hurt. Like it was bad. And so, but like one of the ones that I read, and this is just because I don't think these make sense in my head. I can't make it make sense. There was even one that had like a disclaimer about sexual violence.
How, I mean, isn't that against the law? I don't even understand how that. Just signing a waiver shouldn't matter.
The only thing I can think of with things like that is to have two consensual people acting out a scene that appears non-consensual. But either way, I'm thinking, to me, like that's not a haunted house.
No,
that's not, you know, you can label it extreme all you want. It's just torture porn. Like it's not, you know, and I don't know, like it just makes me uncomfortable to think about. And then when that guy says what he says at the end of this movie, it just even made me feel even more unsettled by the concept of these places that like you sign away, you know, like whatever, so that they can just do whatever they want to you. And I don't know, like there's just something about that doesn't sound appealing to me.
I mean, that's basically the gist of this movie, is that they give some sort of nonverbal or, you know, implicit permission to continue on with whatever this is. At some point, I forget how it like, if you want to keep going, meet us at this place. And of course they do, so that yes means they're allowed to kidnap them and bury them underground, which I mean, to me,
I'm really intrigued to see the second one now that you've said that, because now I'm like,
you should watch it. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the story continuing. You find out what happened. If you don't watch the second movie, you'll never know what happened.
It's up to you to imagine what happened.
Yeah, but it's not even like a lot of movies. It's like a cliffhanger, but also the end of the movie. This movie, it just like literally ends in the middle of a scene, a climactic scene. So
no, it does. You're right. It does.
And there's so many things you want to know, like, what's happening? Is this a haunt? Are these just really messed up people? Did all of the main characters die? Like, I mean, you don't get any answers at the end. And I really am curious why. I don't know off the top of my head if the second movie came out like right afterwards, and if it was just like
I have no
marketing
idea.
thing, or if there really was a gap and they just really ended the first movie like that for some strange reason. But it's still worth it. It's still like,
Yeah.
if it was me, I would recommend everybody to watch the first and the second movies together, back to back if you can.
And I think they're both on Tubi.
They're both there. Yep. So no excuse.
Once again, Tubi for the win for found footage.
Yeah, I mean, so this is easy. You're a found footage fan. You really want to watch another film or films that are that are really in the spirit of the season. This should be on your list for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Super good one.
Yeah, and this one, I think a lot of people know this one, kind of like Hell House. This is not one that's incredibly obscure. So
yeah. Well, and this one used to be on Netflix, I think, or another. If it wasn't Netflix, it was another streaming service, because I think I mentioned to you I had seen it a million times before, and I kept not watching it because I thought the cover made it look cheesy, and I didn't know it was found footage, so I never watched it.
I think the same thing happened to me. Not only did the cover look not great, I thought the title was stupid at the time. The House is October Built. I was like, oh, okay, come on. I don't know what that is. And I never knew it was found footage, never watched it. And then I didn't know, some list I read had it on there, and so I gave it a shot, and I really like it. So yeah, highly recommended.
It's a good one. You should definitely check it out. I agree.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, next week we're talking Deadstream.
Deadstream next week.
I almost said Dread. I was like, that's not right. Deadstream, which
is brand new. It's coming out next week. Yeah, this week. I don't know.
When we're recording this, it comes out this week. It comes out this Friday.
Okay.
On Shudder.
Which
means no ads.
That's right.
I love Tubi, but those damn ads drive me crazy.
You know what? It actually reminds me of when I used to watch like a horror movie on TV as a kid. You know, I mean, half of the movie would be edited out for content, or which is ridiculous when you think of like horror movies being edited out for content. But sort of not that Tubi does that. Tubi doesn't edit it out.
But I know what you mean though. The experience, it's like, and then when it gets to those like peak scary moments, it's time to watch a commercial about mac and cheese or whatever.
There was actually, I think, a commercial for like, I don't know, some kid's toy in the middle of this House is October Built, and I was like, I don't know who's putting this together. It was like a Nickelodeon commercial, and I don't know, something like that. So
that's super funny. So yeah, we'll be talking Deadstream next week. Yes, a brand new that just came out by the time you watch this the Friday before.
Okay.
And super excited to check that one out. So I'm going to watch it on Friday night.
I want to watch it on a big screen with the lights off,
Get into the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is Deadstream is supposed to be is comedic, I think. A little.
I saw a description that referenced The Evil Dead, which made me think comedic. I assume that's what
I've heard, comedic, and I think gory.
Evil Dead. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
So that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm excited to see that one and to talk about it.
Me too. Can't wait.
Make sure you come back for that one.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I have for this one. So
bye, everybody. I won't be wearing this wig the next time, I promise. Maybe I will.
If it's comfortable. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for another episode of Found Footage Fridays. Have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week coming up. And we will see you next week when we talk Deadstream.
See you then. Happy Friday.